Welcome to the yet another amazing session of Time to Shine. This is your host, Ruksar Sayed. Today, I'm in conversation with Ivana Nady. Ivana is the founder of Zen Interior, where design meets environmental psychology and ancient wisdom. With a background in architecture and humanitarian work, designing hospitals, homes, and refugee camps, she discovered the profound impact spaces on well being and success. Today, she helps clients worldwide transform their homes and offices using Feng Shui intuitive design and coaching, turning spaces into catalysts for growth, productivity, and harmony. Her unique approach bridges the seen and unseen, proving that our surroundings shape our inner world. Welcome, Ivana, on my show, and it's so good to connect today.
Thank you, Ruksar. It's a pleasure to be here with you on your podcast. And I'm looking forward to sharing my insights with your listeners as well.
Yes. So, Ivana, you have worked in some incredibly challenging, environments like refugee camps. How did those experiences shape the way you think about design and its impact we have on our lives?
Yeah, working in refugee camp is really an eye-opening experience. And I mean this both professionally and personally. And I was working for a UN agency, and I was responsible for the settlement planning, so refugee camp planning. And I had to make sure that the camp essential services like roads, schools, hospitals, and shelters, they're all in place and they all met standards. But what really struck me wasn't really the technical part of those camps. It was really how people themselves interacted with the space. So even though internally we had many procedures, many processes and approval systems to ensure certain standards, and sometimes I would go back because if you imagine the camps are sometimes 1 million people, it's a huge area. So I couldn't be at all places at all times. So sometimes I would go back after 2 or 3 days. And even with these small period of time, the space would change. It was incredible. It would naturally reorganize the environment. So they would create small paths. They would, put up the market stalls. They would gather in community spaces. And this is without us telling us how to use the space. And to me, this is what taught me something really crucial. Space is not something that is static. It's really organic and alive. And it evolves the way people use it. It is not that we build something and then we fit people in. It should be the other way around. It's the people that are shaping the environment the way they need it. And also what I noticed something even deeper. It doesn't matter how little people had. They took pride in their homes. What they thought is their home, even if it's only just a tent. And they would clean it and they would beautify it with whatever they could find. It showed to me that space or the home is not just about the wealth or possessions. It's really about the energy and the care that we put into it. And on the flip side, I also walked into some impressive apartments or houses in Western world. And to me, people here, a lot of times they perceive space as something temporary, something that you put your objects into, something that it is just a space, it's an object. It is not something that you really connect to. And this, many times I feel the spaces are cold, uninvolved, and, almost neglected, even if they are in perfect conditions. So for me, those experiences really shaped me profoundly the way I approach the space. So it's not about the perfection or luxury for me. It's really about creating the space that reflects the care, the belonging, the support that transform our lives. So it doesn't matter if it's a refugee camp or a luxury penthouse for me.
Yeah. So moving forward, Ivana, the Feng Shui method, what it is all about? Like, according to me, it's like a human connection with the space they live in, or what? Like, I'm not sure. So can you please elaborate on it?
Yeah, I love these questions because it's so often misunderstood what it is. because many times people tell me it's just a set of rigid rules. It's kind of like a quick fix decor items that you put in your space. But actually, when you really unpack it of what it is, when you go back to its origins, it's something a lot more deeper and fluid. Because originally Feng Shui was all about the observing the nature, the understanding of the cycles, you know, how wind and water, how seasons, how energies flow, and how all of this aligns with the human harmony.
Yes.
And how human life harmonizes with these natural rhythms. It wasn't at all about formulas or strict guidelines or you know, about these cookie cutter options that we know and we are so familiar today. And actually it's interesting, this approach that we know today, which is so commercialized and what we call a cookie cutter version, it was invented in California in 1980s. So it's very new. And this is where people see it's rigid. So for me, the way I see it, I take every client, every space as something very unique. And I always start with the place itself. And this is going back to its origins, the way it should be when you start applying Feng Shui. So I always look at where the place is located, how it's orientated, what is the natural energy flow. So what building surrounds it, or is it building? Is it a forest? And after this, this is when I start diving deeper into client experiences. So really understanding their needs, the family or the business dynamics, even past experiences with the spaces. You know, what worked in the past, what didn't work before, and most importantly, where would they like to go in the future? So what is their aspiration? And I blend all of this insight into, and I use this as a foundations for the principle of the Feng Shui.
Exactly.
So it's not about it's not, for me, it's not about the fixed rule. It's really something that is flexible framework. So to create a space that really supports them practically and energetically, you know, to create this, as you mentioned, timeless and functional, deeply personalized space.
So, can you share an example of, the positive impact of environment which they had on their mind? Like many times, even to our friends, to our family members, we are telling that if you're stressed or if you're bored with repeating the same routine, you should change your environment to feel good. So, what is that one example you can share?
Sure, absolutely. I can share an example of a client of mine that really stood out because she achieved quite a big transformation. So she came to me because she wanted to improve her romantic life. At the time, she was in a relationship with someone she really cared about, but she was a little bit frustrated because she felt like he wasn't committing and she felt really stuck.
Okay.
So I analyzed her space through the lens of Feng Shui, and I immediately noticed something super interesting. There was this one specific area of her home which corresponded to her romantic area, as we call it in the Feng Shui. And in this space, she actually had a room which she called a storeroom.
Okay.
So she put all of her clutter in there, all of the things that she didn't want in her space. So she was really neglecting this environment. So when I suggested to her, okay, let's declutter this space, and also I provided her some feng shui tips on how to improve this space, and she really resisted. You know, she gave me so many practical reasons why she just cannot do that. And she was like, she needed this storage space. It was really a priority for her to use this as a storage. And then a few months later, she came back to me with the same problem. And by this time, I started integrating a little bit more of psychology and coaching into my practice. And I took a different approach. So instead of telling her, okay, these are the steps you need to do and you need to declutter, I just simply asked her, let's go to this room and let's have a phone call there. And at first, during the conversation was, pretty light. It was chit chat, and she was very skeptical. But about 15, 20 minutes into the call, something really shifted. So she became very emotional. And, with sitting among this clutter, she really saw the metaphor. Okay, this space is really neglected, full of things that didn't belong there. And this is how she was treating the relationship. So actually what she realized is it was also her that was not giving space to her partner to step into this relationship. And she was prioritizing everything else. And because all of this was quite overwhelming at first, what we did, we broke it out into small steps. So we really just observed the clutter, and then slowly she started decluttering the space. But we really broke it down into, what she can do today, what she can do in a week, what she can do in a month. And slowly she really rearranged the space. And actually, she also invited her partner to help her with this.
Okay.
So they did it together and they transformed the room. And actually, this is what brought them closer together as well.
Okay. So, Ivana, your approach is so holistic, combining design, psychology, and coaching. How do you help clients who might be skeptical about the unseen aspects of space, those who are in doubt?
Yeah. Actually, it's I completely understand the skepticism. It's especially when it comes to something like Feng Shui, which is really portrayed as something superstitious and mystical. So when I work with clients, I really make sure that I address those unseen aspects. So I really start small and practical. Because when you start with small and practical, this is where people open up. And when they see, okay, I can do the small thing that she's suggesting and start seeing results, this is when they really open up for the deeper shifts. So I don't dive straight into abstract topics such as flying stars, which can be seen a little bit, esoteric. So I really concentrate on the natural cycles, as we already discussed, going back to the basics, and I explain to them on these principles. For example, for the client who is maybe wanting to attract more clients, meaning that he or she, they need the energy of this marketing, of visibility. I try to explain what this energy is. For example, it's a summer energy. If you think about the summertime, everything is, blossoming, or everything is going to fruition. Everything is ripening. So this kind of energy relates in Feng Shui to fire energy. And when I explain it this way, it makes a lot more sense. And then we start introducing the colors, the materials that correspond to this fire energy. And usually people, they're acceptable to this. And when they start seeing small changes, they also open up to the bigger transformations.
So, Ivana, when someone wants to create a space, more intentional, harmonious space today, what's the one step they can take? That first step to create that kind of space.
Yeah. One advice that I have is really to start understanding how you relate to your space. So oftentimes, when we think about changing our space, we rush into, okay, I'm going to look at the designs, I'm going to look at color schemes, or I'm going to go on Pinterest. But actually, my first advice would be to do a simple exercise. And this is imagine back in the time in your life and think of 3 of our 5 spaces. You can start with 3 where you felt really good. It doesn't matter if it's childhood home or an office where you were really thriving, or a vacation, and you start listing how you felt there and why you felt. So not so much about the colors or the furniture, it's really about the feelings. And start listing 5 feelings that you had there for each one of them. And soon you will see that some will be repetitive. And it's normal that you have different feelings in the office or at home, but you will see certain themes, how you relate to the space, what makes you feel good in the space. So you start from there. and you start building on that. Now, another very practical thing that you can do is, and it's very simple, you bring in flowers or plants in your space because they have live energy. And this straight away, it uplifts it.
Yes. So as you said that we have to add more and more plants and flowers in our space. Like I am a kind of person who do literally the same, like, filling the space with more and more plants. So I am in love with nature, and hence, in my home as well, there are so many plants and all which I have filled in the name of decor. So when I hear the name decor, the first thing comes in my mind is plants to fill our space with more
Perfect.
plants because they radiate positive energy. So you said it rightly. And thank you so much, Ivana, for joining because you have explained so beautifully what impact space can have on our mind and on our lives as well. So I hope our viewers will also enjoy this session.
Thank you so much for the invite. It's been a real pleasure sharing this with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And wishing you all the very best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you.